Live
but not live. We're not live at
without
all.
being live.
We're pre-recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get the Mic. I'm your host on the left, Al.
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
And in this episode, we're going to continue talking about Dragon Ball and finish off this kind of filler-ish arc. It has some filler elements I think we'll actually run into in this episode, which is called The Legend of the Dragon. And hopefully Brock and I can come to some kind of agreement about whether or not it is, because obviously there's logical plot holes, but whether it maintains the spirit of the thing is what I think Brock
It's
is
just,
going to try and contend.
it's strange to say that there's an episode called The Legend of a Dragon and also be like, it's also just a filler episode.
I'm not saying it's just a filler episode. I'm saying that the grander mythos behind the
Oh,
Dragon
yeah.
Balls is greater than the mythos given to it in this
Yeah, no, this is,
non-canon part.
we have our biblical sort of analysis, and I think that this is a lower level cosmic analysis of what's going on, and then it becomes
Well,
more articulated further on. I don't
let's
think it
get in.
makes it irrelevant, though.
Let's get into it as
Yeah.
we go. So, we'll go ahead and start. As you can see, this is a pre-recorded stream. No chat today, but this is premiered. So if you would like to respond, feel free to chat with each other in the chat
Or chat with us.
or chat with us, because we'll be watching each premiere. Like we said though earlier, in our last live stream, we are probably going to start recording so that we can do some other live stream material for all of you guys that watch. So thank you for watching. And without further ado, like and subscribe and we'll get into it. So the first thing we see in this Legend of the Dragon episode is Silver.
We see a beef montage.
Silver, he is working out. He's breaking workout machines, breaking records, destroying pro boxers, right?
Just
Now,
absolutely throwing down.
it's interesting because this this through line, or this plot thread, I should say, continues through the intro card. So the intro card actually plays in the middle of this building up of Silver as an adversarial spirit. Also, what do you think of this? Is really the first time Dragon Ball's used this adversarial spirit in the same way as almost Jackie Chan's effortlessness destruction of the competitors of the World Martial Arts Tournament.
This is very similar to that, right? Where he's above the hierarchy that he's contending with most of the time. It's almost like he just supersedes, the boxers. Like he gets in the ring with boxers, and we see like a single punch from him is beyond one guy. It just knocks them all down.
Yeah. One punch goes through. It's actually kind of a humorous animation.
Yeah.
And I think also it's to instantiate the, not just the threat of Silver, because obviously it is to build up Silver as an adversary, but his mode of being to get stronger is also instantiated in this. He's not just fighting dudes and crushing them. He's also training at the same time, right? And this tells us a little bit about Silver and about how his spirit will carry on into the next few episodes that he's in.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of an easy way for the show to articulate that Goku has that aspect about himself as well, that he wants to fight to become stronger. It's just that alone doesn't put you on the path, right? So we're kind of seeing how that aspect can be made into a strong adversarial spirit. It doesn't make you good.
Right, and I think if there were no time constraints on the syndication and things of the show, I'm not so sure the title card would have come before the end of this sequence. But I would say that spirit is part of the path that can take a person towards the Dragon of Chaos.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else on this part? I
No.
think we're good. Yeah. So then we see what has happened to Goku after the explosion of Pilaf's flying fortress, and I do want to say on Pilaf's flying fortress destruction, we do get to see a flashback here of it from Goku's kind of Goku's perspective. Remember if you watched our live stream, the castle or the fortress was surrounded by Red Ribbon Army planes, and it was bombed and blasted out of existence.
Completely destroyed.
It's almost as if the spirit of a united adversarial force can easily wipe away pretenders.
Yeah, well, it'll show your ego for what it is, right? Because you don't measure, especially if all of your claim to power is a projection,
Well, we can obviously agree that Pilaf doesn't measure up, right?
right?
I mean, in more ways than one.
That's part of why he remains so short.
Even I mean, it's actually interesting because in Super, he wishes to be a kid, right? And he barely barely loses any height.
I
He's always been a goblin,
don't want to
and
talk about Super.
well,
It's not real.
right, okay. Let me not trigger Brock over here.
It's not
So
real.
Goku remembers that he got blasted away, and he called for a Keen Tone last thing that he remembers, and it actually is able to save him. Right, the path will lead you out of the chaos created by the subordination, or let's say subjugation, of the foolish adversary to the true adversarial spirit.
Hmm.
And this happens sometimes. I'm trying to think of a good example. Um, for some reason, I'm thinking of the Mummy. Yeah, that's actually not a bad example. So in the Mummy, and the Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, 1999, right?
Archetypal
The
film.
the uh, the foolish adversarial spirits, those who want that personal gain, like the American adventurers that open the chest and things, despite the warnings they hear, right? They unleash the true adversarial spirit,
Hmm.
but the heroes are able to escape through various paths because it's the same kind of idea. Is that path, the heroic path, can lead you out of the chaos once the adversarial spirit comes to consume the foolish predecessor.
Yeah, it's like something that you can rely on to get you through an encounter with it, right?
It's just a very interesting concept. It doesn't happen in every story, but it's very the idea of that consummation too, because it kind of happens here as well. I mean, they take the Dragon Ball from Pilaf, right? In the mummy takes the flesh and organs of those that opened his chest, right? It's
Hmm.
an assimilation or an integration of that being.
Yeah, it's been so long since I saw The Mummy, but yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Sorry, Sharon was watching it the other day, and I was kind of thinking about it.
Well, I'm trying to remember what happened sequentially after that, because these episodes jump around much more than I'm used to from watching the Tournament Saga.
Oh, you mean the next set we have? So we see Goku have his flashback, and then we see back to Silver. He's still. Oh, he's going to see Red. That's right. Yes. So he goes to see Red, and he has his conference with Red. Now he just brought back the 6-star ball from Pilaf, and so Red's pretty happy with him. So first, this is not the first time we see Red, but there's some significant parts here. So I think Brock, I'm gonna let you take it away on the differences in the sub and dub because I know you want to mention that.
I don't remember what the dub said. The sub is he's very straightforward in saying,
I remember if you want me to go ahead.
go ahead because I can't remember exactly how he
So what
says it.
happens in the sub is Silver says that you of all people are worthy to rule the
That's
world, talking to Red. And in the dub, Silver says there are other people trying to get the Dragon Balls.
yeah,
And
just
so
complete. completely different line,
And
you
so
know?
in the dub response, Red says that all those that stand our way must be destroyed. But in the sub, he actually just says, "Well, good, go Silver and find the
Yeah, like,
balls.
"Make
And if
haste, go on,
anyone
do it."
gets in your way," and he throws the dagger.
And then it hits the statue and just crumbles it.
Right.
Similar to how he stamped his cigar on the Marilyn
I
Monroe
I
ashtray,
think
right?
right, and I think it's coming together to characterize Red as a man who will destroy beauty
I was about to
itself.
say the same. He's
Yeah.
destructive of beauty. It's so antagonistic, right?
Right. And so in order to get his tyrannical ways or his tyrannical wishes as far as we know, he is willing to destroy beauty in the process of that. Just a note for now because we'll get further into it as we progress through this arc.
Mhm.
And so Silver leaves and he takes some forces with him to go find the next ball. Anything else here?
Nope.
Thought we are pretty good there too. So then Goku is flying through the forest. He gets hungry. He's kind of near the Dragon Ball, but not too near it. So he decides to drop off and get some food, and he runs into some monkeys. The
Yeah, it's
monkeys are one of the monkeys snatches the food he was going to get, and he's upset at first. So he climbs the tree after them and finds that she's the monkey that stole his fruit is feeding her baby monkey the fruit that she stole. And so Goku's like, whatever. I'm not too messed up about it.
yeah, there's this interesting sort of dynamic here too. It definitely reminds me of Sun Wukong, where he's kind of like the king of the monkeys in this situation. It plays out in a really quick fashion. Um, but it's like a little microcosm of him being integrated into the monkeys' sort of social hierarchy, right? And them like appreciating his role as a leader for them because he protects them from this jungle cat that attacks, right? And so
Mm.
they offer up their fruit to him, and it that is what precipitates what the Red Ribbon Army is doing as they're pursuing this Dragon Ball that is nested here in this monkey hierarchy.
Wait, can you specify that last part further?
The Dragon Ball that's there.
No, before that.
What
When you're
specifically are you asking?
I was more pointing towards the part when you were saying it mirrors, or not mirrors, but what it means for the Red Ribbon Army.
Well, this is their next step. What they're going to do is come and try to get this. They're going to go into the forest, right, to try to get the Dragon Ball. It reminds me of that St. George story, but it's a disrespect of it, right? They're going to come here into the natural hierarchy to go into the forest in the same way that you can say go into the darkest part of the forest to find that which you seek, right?
Well, and it's
But they're going to
also
burn the forest, right?
due to
Ultimately,
the technological arrogance that they possess, right? They can not really care about the natural hierarchies around them.
right? But it's great because Goku sort of is seated in here, being at the right place at the right time.
Well, being kind of that middle factor, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, I think too this the connection to the King of the Monkeys, Sun Wukong. But I mean, Goku definitely doesn't lead all the monkeys in a revolt
No,
against heaven or anything.
no, it's just it almost feels like a nod in that way, right?
It's
Where it's
it's
like
just like a little, yeah, it's a little wink, a little wink.
it's because it's much more complicated in the original mythology behind Journey to the West, but it is a funny little thing where he kind of
And I do like too that Goku like looks around there, like sees, and it's actually the fruit that gives him this all of
hmm
this, right? The sight that he gets, the wisdom he gets from allowing this creature to take the fruit, right? It's what propels him to be the leader of the monkeys, as well as his defending of It's not just like another monkey, it's specifically a mother and child monkey that's perfectly, well, maybe not perfectly, but it's, very well instantiated here, right? I mean, the female monkey has, like, eyelashes and
Yeah.
things, right? Like, she's pretty feminized, and it's that way for a reason. It's he who protects, um, that propagation, and, I mean, Goku here has a monkey tail as well, so
Yeah, and
to
it's
point
it's
that
also
out.
just neat to have him like defending the sanctity of sort of like what the Dragon Ball represents here, right? Because it's you can go forthrightly and get the Dragon Ball here. You don't have to like attack the forest. You don't have to attack the mountain. You know, it's a I think it's setting it up that way so that we can see the nature of what the Red Ribbon Army is about to do as well. You know, it fits really nicely in there that Goku
Oh, I see what you
could
mean.
be
So
defending
it
it,
shows
right?
the
As a
dichotomous
representative, yeah.
nature of Goku and the Red Ribbon Army.
Because draw the line where it's like Goku has done this. He's gone out into the wild like in search of chaos, right? But he does it in a different way than they do. So here he's like defending the spirit of it in a sense.
Right, he's just defending that spirit which creates, right? The
Mhm.
mother spirit which creates and her child which is the future. He defends that from the natural hierarchy that we talked about that Goku already has domain over,
Right.
right?
So in this he gets to step back into it as a proponent of it, right? Instead of just interfacing with it.
And so what happens is that he's automatically elected as the most competent among them,
Mhm.
and that's why he becomes the leader. So then we see, I believe they get the Dragon Ball, yes, and the Red Ribbon Army is still searching for the Dragon Ball. The monkeys have it, as far as we know, and so the Red Ribbon Army is just starting their search.
So yeah, that's kind of what made me think of that connection to the St. George story is them on the tree line there looking into the forest and it's sort of like having to venture into the forest is like a hard line, right?
It's really not, though, the point. I would say it's not really the point which they fear most.
Right. Well, it's not the darkest part of the forest, but
I mean, look at this. It's definitely not the darkest part
yeah,
of the
clearly.
forest.
But just like on a low resolution scale, the idea of going to the forest. But
Right.
anyway,
But yeah, so they get the Dragon Ball. The monkeys find the Dragon Ball here, and the Red Ribbon Army goes in. I think that's pretty much it in those. And then we go to
it cuts away
we'll spend a while on this part, I think.
probably.
So we cut back to Roshi's island where Krillin is training with Master Roshi, doing hundreds and thousands of push ups. And Launch calls them in for an ice cream snack, and they begin to talk about the Dragon Balls. Roshi tells them the legend of the balls, according to him, and they begin to discuss what kind of wish they would like each.
Now, I like first off that the first thing we see is Krillin doing these push-ups with the turtle stacked on his back, right?
Two turtles and Master Roshi, right?
Yeah, it's sort of this scaling idea too. Where it's like it's turtles all the way down. It's like how far down can you go? The stack of turtles, right? What the turtles represent, sort of as this timeless wisdom, right? Like how deep into it can you go? How much of it can you support, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of the next step that Krillin has to take in order to do anything now at this point, right?
Yeah, he has to keep challenging the wisdom that he can bear.
And so he they come back in and they have some ice cream, right? Did you want to say anything about snack time?
Well, I think snack time speaks for itself.
Snack time speaks for itself. Snack time needs to be a meme. Someone make it a meme. It's pretty great.
It's interesting to me that so they come in for food, but it's like a snack. You know, it's not healthy food. It's not something to really sustain Krillin. And his response here is that he's too tired to eat, basically, or he's not excited about the ice cream because he's too tired. It's very much the opposite of how Goku is, right?
I mean, would Goku eat a bunch of ice cream though?
Probably not, but insofar as after he's been training, he always wants to immediately eat. He's
That's
always
true. Yeah,
excited by
I
food.
see what you
They're
mean
kind
there.
of commenting to Krillin like, "How? Why are you not excited about
Goku
eating?"
would laugh at you at
Yeah.
where you are. I think that's what they say exactly, right?
Hmm.
Because Krillin is, yeah. I mean, I think literally after he says he's tired, they say Goku
Yeah.
would laugh at you or whatever.
I'm just.
That's
I'm.
actually Master
uh,
Roshi.
It's interesting to me. I'm curious why you think that is. That's different from Goku.
Why Krillin doesn't want to eat after
Yeah.
this? I think it's because he is already nourished. He should be leaving the island at this point.
Oh yeah. I guess that's where we're kind of coming into his story again, right? That he has prepared himself to come and start interfacing with what's
And
going
it's
on.
not long. It's not too many episodes until we do see him back with Goku adventuring, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's that he's already been nourished, and that's why he doesn't. I mean, he can push himself as much as he wants physically, but that spiritual nourishment has already been satiated, and so the spiritual symbolism used, symbology used for the ice cream, for example, which is already a
Right.
malnutritious thing,
It's
is
empty.
not appeasing
Yeah.
for him. Is that Does that answer?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. And so then Roshi gets into the legend. I'll let you go ahead and tell the legend.
He talks about originally, back when people were honest, they were gifted from the gods an original singular Dragon Ball, and it shows it as a sparkling rainbow, sort of cosmic bead. I guess is the best way to describe it. Which I look at that as sort of this is basically represented across all religion, right? The all, the unity, the primordial being at the beginning of time, the golden sphere, the it's a million different things. But I like looking at it like that because it's sort of the idea of totality in it, and why totality needs to be broken up so that it can't be manipulated in one direction, so that it can be a more balanced force in the world. And so Roshi says that the people built a temple and worshipped it, and they had this amazing, intricate statue of a dragon with the bead in its mouth. So symbolically heavy, right? Um, with the idea of this primordial dragon with the oneness in its mouth, like that Ouroboros state almost. And
A dragon holding all chaos in its
right,
jaws,
holding
right?
all of itself in and of itself, sort of
Well,
that.
all well, and remember, it was like a bead of the universe, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it has the potential, and it could grant multiple wishes, right? That's why they
Yeah,
worshipped it.
it's basically bottomless potentiality in a sense. And so eventually, evil in the hearts of men caused them to come and want to steal it for their own greed. And as a result, the gods struck them down and split the Dragon Ball 7 ways so that it wouldn't be abused. And Roshi goes on to talk about how there have been groups that have gotten together and abused it anyway, have worked to try to abuse it for greed. But this is, now that there's seven, it's safer, so on and so forth. Um, so this is obviously not the literal origin of the Dragon Balls that we get later on in the series. So that's what we were talking about earlier as to whether or not this is a canonical sort of world building in this episode, because it's considered to be filler, right?
Well, also we do need to mention Roshi at the end says that there's legend of a hero that will come to use the Dragon Balls for good and justice, right? And that's the Shining Knight we see in one of these clips.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and uh, not to reveal analysis ahead of ourselves, but I do think that this origin story um it's half baked compared to what we get later,
Mhm.
and it's partially because it isn't it is filler, quote unquote. But I think the spirit of it for the most part is there,
Yeah, I think that
because think
it's
about what also ultimately, maybe not split the Dragon Balls, but what split Kami, right, is that exact same thing, the evil at the heart of it. And
mhm.
that's what caused the Dragon Balls to split, etc. Um, right. And I think besides that, there's not too much we can take out of this lore from
Right.
it.
What the way that I would put it is think of it biblically, right? Because biblical stories retell the same cosmic tale multiple times, but it sort of gets rearticulated and updated and sort of integrated into other stories that make it more rich and make it more true, right? And so I kind of think of that
Is this the
happening
more
like
true
here.
version though?
I'm not saying that.
Oh.
I'm saying that it becomes more true over time as it integrates more complex
Yes.
ideas, right?
In our world, in our actual world,
Yes.
yes.
And so, considering the cosmology in Dragon Ball that way, that it really is mythological in that sense, it makes a bit more sense to me anyway to say like, oh, okay, so you know, there's a oneness that is balanced, and then the evil in the hearts of men cause the gods to have to break up this potentiality so that we were limited, and there's sort of a fall from a stasis, and so it's kind of like I said, it's the low resolution Old Testament version of a story that we're going to have updated as a New Testament, in
Well,
Z.
okay, so not just that, but I mean, so are you trying to say that the existence of the culture surrounding the Dragon Ball here in Legend of the Dragon is one that
Well, it's like this could be their telling of the myth, right? This could be
Mhm.
the how it works in these mythological stories from
Okay,
Telephone,
so
right?
that's what I was gonna say. Do you think it's akin to Paradise?
I think it is, right? It's the walled garden, you know. Think of it a temple with a bead of chaos in the center,
Mhm. Mhm. Okay,
and
interesting.
potentiality and
But
creative, you know, energy.
right. I see what you mean. How do you feel about the worshiping of the wish-giving dragon?
The worshiping of the dragon. I kind of like I mentioned before, it's a pre-cosmogonic idea. It's that Ouroboros ideal that we see very, very far back. I would kind of tie it into that, like that sort of worship um being tied. I wish I could. It's kind of Mesopotamian, and it's also tied into um like Aztec and Egyptian mythology too, with that Ouroboros representing different things, but ultimately sort of like the only way that I can describe it is pre-cosmogonic,
All
um,
things in one, sure.
Chronos, right? It's like
Yeah.
pre-Chronos.
Well, and kind of more what I was getting at is because it seems like that they worship the bee, they worship the dragon, and there's gods that we never hear about again either.
Hmm.
It's just the general gods. Now that's what that's kind of what I mean by it's half baked. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of missing parts that would improve, and that could have been something. And I would love to see when fiction
Well,
does that, where it has, let's say, religious stories that build upon themselves over time and integrate the parts that are more mythological to raise them up to the top.
I do want to say as well, whenever it introduces the shrine, you see apple trees around it. Like you're getting that motif from it like right away.
Mhm.
Paradisa, the paradise sort of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stasis, right? The balance in nature. It's almost like pre-conscious. Um, and that's how we see that articulation in Genesis, right?
Yeah. And I think the end result here that we get, them talking about their wishes, is interesting, right? Because we have the end of this story, um breaks the one ball into seven balls, and it's across the whole world, right? And so
Hmm.
the very next thing that they're in, not implied, what am I trying to say? The next thing that they're compelled to do is to orient themselves in a direction, right? In that, trying to aim towards that goal, whatever it is that they would wish for if they had the Dragon Balls. What do you think about that?
Yes, I do like it. It's surprising to me how much it nails that those mythologies though with this. Like it hits so many different mythologies and represents them all at the same time. And that's why
But
I
is it
really like
really
it.
great? See, and that's that. Okay, I'll bring up another thing real quick. Is it really grave robbers that tips the scales, or not even grave robbers, but like thieves that tip the scales for the gods? They're like, well, we can't have this happen, right?
Well, it kind of makes me think of like that, not flood, but sort of it's a motif that happens a lot throughout the Bible, right? Where there's sort of a almost like a build up, right? Like you see it in like Pus of Man in Dark Souls, where it's like it builds up and then erupts out, and then like the gods have to say, "Oh, we gotta reset the scales on this sort of thing." And so you see that happening here. I feel like we're getting the cliff notes of maybe a broader story, right?
Right, and that's kind of what I mean,
Yeah,
half baked, right?
yeah,
I think we're coming to an agreement on it. So that's a really big part of this episode, and Krillin would wish for ultimate strength. Master Roshi would definitely wish for a piece of something,
yeah.
and Launch at the very end of this sequence says that she has a wish as well, and I wish she would tell
My
us.
wish is that I knew what she wished for
Yep, that's my wish because Launch. That's all. Just
because
launch.
launch.
Because launch. I gotta know. All right. So the next thing, we get back to our main story here, and it seems that the Red Ribbon Army has resorted to burning down the forest to look for the Dragon Ball,
Hmm.
and so the monkeys who are playing around with it, they're still running around with it. And Goku, he goes and tries to start saving the forest, but not before all of his monkey crew is rounded up one at a time and questioned and interrogated, searched, you name it. They're treated with rough hands by these chaps.
So this is sort of why I made the Sun Wukong connection earlier, because there's such a weird moment where we see all the monkeys like dejectedly sitting there together, like, oh, we got beat up, like not acting like monkeys at all.
Yeah. They admitted defeat. They were there they were. And so it's true. I mean, and you see it even here before they set the forest on fire. They like breaking down trees and stuff. They're not trying to respect the natural hierarchy they're entering at all.
Well, that's why Goku says, "Stop hurting the mountain," right? Stop damaging
Yes.
the natural hierarchy.
Right. And that's why I kind of took back what I said as we were
Hmm.
watching it, because I think the mountain symbolism of the hierarchy is possibly better than what the forest is representing here.
Yeah, Goku literally calling it a mountain, even though it doesn't look mountainous. I think that kind of is driving the point home that that's what it's talking about, and that's the language it's been speaking in this whole time.
Yeah, definitely. And so Goku goes to stop them, and that's kind of where we're gonna end off. We have a few more parts where Goku slams them. He starts fighting. Colonel Silver is about to fight Colonel Silver, and the Dragon Ball starts getting away. So the monkey who has it goes over the cliff. It's the same monkey pair that Goku saved earlier. And Colonel Silver is able to shoot a branch from a remarkable distance, and they fall into the ravine below. And that's actually, I think, where it ends the episode
I
exactly.
don't know. You said earlier, I don't know what the monkey was gonna do, right? It's already at the edge.
Yeah, it's swinging. She's swinging that way. There she goes. And I mean, with momentum, even if she grabbed that one, where was she going to go? There was no more branches in front of her.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
It's
I think there's a couple things to point out here.
yeah, I think it's significant that the Dragon Ball falls into the water.
It's also significant that the monkeys have it, because as we saw, that monkey hierarchy, that natural hierarchy, is something that Goku has respected and would have gained access to the ball easily had the Red Ribbon Army not been here.
Right, but the Red Ribbon Army doesn't respect it, and they'll basically, as we saw Colonel Silver acting out earlier in the episode, has no care for his environment. He has no care for the people around him. Like he'll do what it takes to become stronger. He'll burn the forest down, right?
Yeah,
So he's not integrated in
he'll
that same
destroy
way
potentiality enabled in
in order
for
to empower himself.
right. And so also like we were saying, it is that monkey pair that Goku already saved. And I think that's important too, because that was his access into the hierarchy to begin with, and that's kind of where the wisdom is to be found.
Hmm.
And so that's
From
kind of
Yeah, from the representative within the hierarchy, right?
yes. And so here at the very end of this episode, we see kind of a cliffhanger. What's going to happen to the Dragon Ball? Will Goku find it? Where's Colonel Silver going to go? Is he going to go after them? All this. But a couple other, one other thing I want to point out before we kind of close out is Colonel Silver's ability to make the shot is really, it's really representative of his vision, right? It isn't a no scope, which I think Brock, you made the joke of when we were watching this. It
Yeah.
isn't a no scope, but it is very precisely aimed, right? And we get the idea. Possibly Colonel Silver could be a match for Goku. We don't know. We haven't seen him actually fight anyone as strong as Goku yet, but Goku's throwing rocks and smashing tanks.
Well,
So,
symbolically, you talk about someone having really true aim, right?
mhm.
Where mythologically the term sin has been more tied with missing your mark. And so, this adversarial spirit is hitting his mark. He's very true, right? He's true to himself, he's true to his motivations. So he's able to orient himself very accurately.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And so we're being introduced to that, literally, but also that is an aspect of why he's able to be as strong as he is.
Well, and I also think it helps to have that red ribbon to be as aimed and focused as he is.
Hmm.
And I think that helps many of the red ribbon soldiers that we see going forward in this arc. But we'll get into that when we get to it, I suppose.
Hmm.
But right. And I think that's pretty much all we have to say about this episode. If you liked what you heard, give us a like. Please subscribe. We do episodes Sunday and one bonus episode in the week. We're also going to try and start doing some more live streams for different kinds of content. So for those of you that like Dragon Ball, you'll still get those uploads normally. But those of you who might want to try some other things, we're going to be like, experimenting a little.
Yeah, you can leave us any suggestions for stuff you'd like to hear discussed, and maybe we'll take it into consideration. We're talking about doing some episodes about movies and kind of branching out into a little bit of other media. So anything anyone thinks of, we would like to hear it.
Well, all right, everyone. I'm your host on the left, Owl,
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
and this was Get the Mic episode 30 33.
33. The Legend of a Dragon.
The Legend of a Dragon. Goodbye, everyone.